I'm Grayson Guyer with Lost Highway Kennels and the Companion Gundog podcast, and today we're going to give a brief overview of training dogs to ride in canoes with us. It's something I spend a lot of time doing mostly year-round. It's a great skill to have for duck hunting, so oftentimes, it's pretty popular for folks to be using kayaks these days for duck hunting, but in general, small boats are going to be a part of the experience for the most part. If you stick with it a long time. And of course, I like to take my dog along with me when I go anywhere in the summer. And I spend a lot of time paddling, some time fishing. And so I spend a lot of time on canoes with my dog. And today I've got Althea, who is a very experienced veteran canoe dog. And I have Billie Jean, who is less experienced and a little different type of dog, as you can see. So Althea here is a lab, and Billie Jean is a Springer Spaniel, and they contrast very well for the purposes of this film. Of course, Althea is 7 years old and has been doing this her whole life. She's also a very low arousal dog, even though she's a nice high drive hunting dog for me. Billie Jean, in keeping with her breed and kind of the history of her breed, is a much higher arousal dog. And so in the podcast that will accompany this video itself, we'll talk a lot about arousal and drive and kind of the natural things that are required of a dog to do this kind of work. But for all intents and purposes today on the video demonstration, we're gonna not spend as much time on talking about the nature side and a little more time on the nurture side. So you can see both of these dogs are on what we would consider place cots or place boards, and I will attempt to keep myself facing the camera just for the purposes of making sure you're getting the audio on this, and hopefully it doesn't break out too much. But you can see Billie actually nicely laid down. She's probably feeling a little bit of social pressure from me for that, but what I'm going to do is release her right now. Yes, good, and let her come get some food from it. And then we're just going to work some reward-based work back to the place board. If she wants food, good. She's got to get back on the place board. She spent plenty of time doing this particular exercise with me and practicing this skill set, but this is a pretty important one to me. I like to use the place boards. It's a good place to teach duration and position. And what I mean by duration is when I say go there, you go there and you stay there. And so we'll spend a lot of time in reward-based scenarios, either with food or with toy. If I'm steadying a dog for retrieving work or steadying a dog for their later steadiness, I'll use the place board a lot. It's a great place for the dog to kind of see a clear delineation between right and wrong. If you're on the board, you're correct. If you're off the board, you're incorrect. It's elevated. It's easy to understand that concept. And so for this, I'll spend a lot of time just leaving the dog on the board in position and getting them comfortable understanding that what's expected of you is to be on the board and to relax. And that's a little tough for certain dogs, like Billie Jean here. And so in addition to the food, we'll play with a lot of toys here where the board is kind of the catalyst for the game. The steadiness is kind of implied at some point along the way, and then we learn to get a good release. But it's also very important that you get on the board, and when there's nothing going on, you just relax, like Althea here. Althea is a fantastic dog at the skill of relaxing. Billie Jean, a little less so. So we've talked about the reward-based parts of this. I'll also use this to introduce a lot of the kind of concepts I want compulsively from the dog. And when I say compulsion, it's the use of negative reinforcement or punishment, maybe what some people would consider, aversive correction type of work. But essentially what I'm saying is, hey, you understand what the board is. We've played a lot of games around the board to this point, and now I'll add the leash to the work. So just a little slip lead maybe to begin. And if she steps off the board, if I introduce it, and so I just gave her a little conflicting nonverbal there. If she steps off the board, that creates a little bit of pressure for her. When she gets back on the board, the pressure goes away. That's the concept. And then later I'll add the e-collar to that. And so this is what some might consider push-pull. I can bring you to me with the e-collar, or I can send you away into position. The place board is wonderful for that. But again, the most important skill in terms of the boat work we're going to do is get in position, stay there, and relax. And so when I begin to work with boats, I prefer canoes. I spend a lot of time paddling a canoe. I have two separate types. Good, we're back here. Stepping off the board, bought a little bit of a vibration from the e-collar getting back in. She's just anticipating. This is, again, A great contrast. High arousal dog, young dog, learning the skill sets, old hand, that is a very low arousal dog by nature, but also has worked a lot, spent a lot of her life working on her quote unquote off switch. And that's what Billie Jean's working on today. And so again, I have two different types of boats out here. If you look behind me, and you may not be able to see this, hopefully I'm not losing the audio, and I'll do my best to not turn my back away. Nope. No, ma'am. Here, she thinks she's being asked to get in the boat. Good, right here. We're not. Stay there. Good. But this is a square stern canoe. So I don't know if you can see that based on the other one. And it's 12. This is a relatively short boat. It's an extremely wide boat. It's made of fiberglass, so it's actually about 20 pounds heavier than the boat over here, which is 16 feet in length. But it's made out of a material called Royal X, which unfortunately is no longer made, but a fantastic canoe material. Lightweight, rigid, tough. It's an ABS plastic, but it just makes for a great boat. Very buoyant. But the good old standard Bear is fiberglass, and fiberglass is fine. It's a durable material. Not too many advantages over Royal X, but it's got a lot of weight to it. You know, again, like we said, sometimes that helps in terms of stability at some point. With this one, in order to get more stable, we really need a good load. For this one, and we talk kind of more in depth about this in the podcast, but this is a wide, flat bottom boat. And so we're going to have very high primary stability in this boat, which means when I'm in the water in this boat and I rock one way or the other, it doesn't really want to tip. It doesn't feel like a tippy boat. It feels like a very stable boat, but it's very low in secondary stability, which means if I do happen to be able to lean over enough to make it tip, then be prepared, because it's got a very unforgiving balancing point when you roll it. Unlike this one, which has really high secondary stability but low primary stability. So when I get in this boat, it feels very tippy. It rocks easily, but I can lean into the boat, paddle easily. Makes it in some ways more maneuverable, but a better paddling experience for sure. So big wide boats tend to be less fun to paddle. They don't track well. They don't go as fast, but you get, you know, the kind of give and take there is that you get this high primary stability. So this type of boat is a great boat to introduce a young dog to being on the water in a boat. Certain things I want to hit off on the checklist are going to be, hey, are you comfortable in and around the water, right? So that's going to help a dog come down a little bit. Billie Jean, it's really only been 2 or 3 weeks now that she's been swimming, so we're early in that game. I may, if newer to this, I would probably want to spend a little more time with that, but I'm pretty confident in her swimming ability at this point, her comfort level in and around the water. Again, on the place board, you know, she would prefer not to be there potentially, but she's doing a pretty good job here for the purposes of this video of getting there and staying there. Again, high arousal young dog. So, but this will be the boat we're going to work on. We've obviously spent some time on the place board, and now we're going to just take the place board, put it in the boat. It's a place she already understands as being somewhat comfortable, and then we're going to get in the boat. She's done a little bit of work at just getting in and out of the boat to this point, but today's really going to be the first time she gets in there and I ask her to stay in the boat. But of course, we're going to rehearse all this. We're going to practice first and foremost on dry land. Get it, understand how to get in and out, and understand once I put you there, it's your job to stay there and chill out. Let's release her quickly. Free, good girl. She's been really, well, she can't wait to get back on. And let's see what she needs to do here. So what I said is this is going to slip around a bit on the floor. If she jumps in there and hits the board very hard, it might do a little slipping and sliding. But I've asked her to stay in the boat. And so should get a little view down here. I'll come down with Billie and just give her some petting, give her some loving. And if she begins to crawl out of the boat, I'm going to step away and hopefully she stays stationary. If she were to get out, if I like lean over, which is kind of an invitation to her, and she's kind of understanding. She's done enough placeboard work to this point to understand that I'm counter conditioning a lot of the normal nonverbal cues for a dog to maybe come to me or break or release from whatever they have, whatever stationary position they've been in. For now, she's doing a pretty good job with that. I'll come over, give her one more pet, and then we're going to walk back over here and just let her sit in this boat. And if she breaks, there'll be a consequence. So that time she put her feet on the gunnel. You didn't get a chance to see it. Put her feet on the gunnel, and I gave her a little vibrate. So now I'm going to, for Billie Jean, if she breaks, if she steps on the gunnel, if she steps on the seat, we're just going to give her a little vibrate. And until she kind of sits down with her body, she doesn't have to lay or lie, but she does have to sit in position, be relaxed, be comfortable, and chill out. And so right now she's just kind of checking everything out. Everything's still novel. Novelty really drives arousal. And you can kind of see that in her. Althea kind of knows things are about to happen here. And so she's kind of gotten up to check it out a little bit, but she's just, for the most part, happy to be where she is. And you'll see her in just a little bit, I'm sure, lay back down. So I am going to step right through the boat here, get in the boat with Billie Jean, and I'm going to have a seat. And if she steps on the thwart or back on the gunnel, we're going to have a little bit of a correction there. It's not going to be harsh, just relaxing and just chilling out. We need to spend time in the boat. We need to get in here, sit down, and let her understand that this is a normal part of life. This is a fine place to be. And if she starts chewing on things, self-satisfying, we're not going to do too much more of that. Good. She's laid down now. You probably can't see her in the boat at this point. She's still sniffing around, but she's laying down. Okay. Now as I move, she begins to stand up again and back down, but just mostly just spending time, just chilling, relaxing. Good. And so once I feel like she's comfortable in the boat, I need to move the boat a little bit to let her understand that this is not going to be a stable platform. It moves. And so I rock it a little bit. I'm going to ask her to step out and then step back in as well. Good. Here. Good girl. Good. Good. And all I'm going to do is just put it in context. And that's what I always do with the play sport. I'm not worried too much about verbal cues. That's more my training style. But the context is, hey, I walked over here, jump in there, get on your place board, and go back to relaxing. Just for Billie Jean, the act of sitting her butt on a place board really shows she's relaxing to some degree. She's getting a little vocal, but that's a part of it, right? I mean, she's a little more vocal. She's not an extremely vocal dog, but she will voice her displeasure or protest something with a little bit of whining when she's frustrated. And right now, she'd much rather be just running around, bumping rabbits out of every piece of cover out here in the yard, doing whatever. She's a very active dog. Anytime I put her in position to chill out, it's a little stressful at first until she relaxes and settles in. So I'm going to step right back through the boat, sit down one more time, and just see what she does. So good. She's doing fantastic at this point. Thumping that little spaniel tail of hers, and we'll spend a lot of time just doing this. I may do 2, 3, 4 sessions of this. Today, I'm going to attempt to launch this boat with her on it, but that may go well, or it may go completely pear-shaped. For me, it's not that big a deal. I take a few risks that I don't recommend others take in training, but it's not going to traumatize her, right? This is going to be a major part of her life if she's going to stay here with me. So, hey, this is the breaking in period. So I'm going to just move this boat a little bit more and try to talk my way through it, but for the sake of the audio, I'll probably do a little less talking as I'm moving the boat. I'm going to push the boat forward, pull the boat backward. We'll go to the other side, potentially triggering a break of some sort from that position just based on the nonverbal. Relax, you're doing fine. Very nice. And she actually, this time, she kind of internalized the stress she's feeling of the moving boat by actually clinging to the boat and laying down. That is something I want to see. Right? I don't want to see her wanting to bail. Just get down there, get tighter, get closer, lower your center of gravity if you feel unstable and that's bothersome to you. She has to, just like us, she's going to have to develop her sea legs here. She's got to learn that this is okay. This is a normal part of life, the moving, the rocking. And the first thing we want to do is just, hey, let's get into a more stable position in a boat. The most easiest way to get stable is to get low, lower your center of gravity. And she did that. And so that, to me, shows that she's beginning to develop a sense of what it means to stabilize. And so I'm going to ask her to step out. We're going to put her back on the place board. I'm going to put the boat in the water, and we're going to work on doing a little bit of loading and unloading from the boat. Good. We've had a little bit of food, so the anticipation of breaking and going back to the boat is going to be high. So we're just going to work on, hey, I'm not asking for that from you now. So every time you break, I've got to be willing to send you back to the board. Good. Just like that. We'll do that again. And so right now we're using all e-collar. I'm not rewarding sitting at the board. I want to bring the arousal down. One thing that'll help us bring the arousal down is a little bit of compulsion. We're suppressing the arousal. It's okay. Don't stress out. Everything's fine. Just go there and know that's what I expect of you. She's done a very good job of not breaking in and around the house, even in the field, with some toys and balls and stuff. But you're seeing Billie just be more highly aroused. She understands there's this kind of nervous energy. Hey, we're playing in the boat's going in the water, we're doing it, Dad's doing stuff. It's different, it's weird, it's unique. And so now I'm going to release Althea, and I'm going to take her place board and put it over there with the wide, stable boat. Althea, good girl. She's waiting. We'll just leave her sitting in position. Sit. Good. Althea she's very good at relaxing in position. No. Billie, much less good at resting in position. We'll bring this boat right up here. So now I'm going to come release Billie to get on the boat. And so now Billie is adrift on the boat behind me, and we're just going to let her sit there and relax. No braking. She's been braking from here so much, just in the anticipation of getting back to the boat, probably the bit of food reward that's been associated with that, and then of course just the stress of having to sit and watch me do stuff over there. Just like she's having to sit over there and watch me do stuff over here. So this time I've actually pulled the bow of the canoe onto shore a little bit, and I'm about to enter the boat with Billie. You can see there's a little instability, and she's just settled in. So that was good. She could have bailed right there. I'm going to actually slide her placeboard into the boat. She stuck to it. We're just going to take a lap or two. Hopefully she sits in position. I'm going to have my e-collar ready in case I need to give a little bit of a correction for motion up, motion down, those types of things. Nope. And so the paddle is creating a little novelty. That's stressing it out a little bit. So I just need to make sure she's understanding it's just a normal part of the process. So we'll wait for her to sit back down again before we start making any moves. I'm just going to bring my paddle over top of her again. She got a little water splashed on her. That's going to be a normal part of being in a canoe. Paddles are going to go overhead. Little droplets of water are going to splash on you. That's okay. Just relax. And so now we're going to do what this boat does best and just spin in a few circles. And there she goes again, kind of grounding herself by getting low, dropping her center of gravity, getting more stable. That's a good behavior. And then just being there, just body position is going to bring her, just her level of arousal down. Now she's back up, we swap again. But hey, my only criteria is still just 4 feet on the placeboard. Even if you want to check things out. If you're going to lean your head out, that's fine. But if a foot touches the gunnel, you got to get back in. So 4 feet on the board, nope. So there's a foot leaving, just a little verbal no. She got the point, back out. You got to be prepared, guys, if you're going to do this, to get wet, because not all dogs are going to take to this very well. Billie's a fine example. She just is not comfortable yet, but that's, again, just her nature. She has to be moving. Anything new is exciting. It creates action. And so we've spent a lot of time to this point just getting her comfortable within action, and that's the most important part of what we do on the boat stuff. So hey, you're there, I'm here, I'm moving, paddles are going, water droplets are falling, and you're still accountable to position here. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully everybody kind of understands how we start the process of getting dogs into canoes. And again, please check out the podcast where I go in depth on arousal and drive, and what it really takes to have the kind of dog that's ready to start this process. Even if we have a bouncy, highly aroused dog, or we have a nice, relaxed, chill dog, just understand that we have to do our part to kind of develop an off switch. It's going to be easier with some than others, but we can certainly have an impact. So look forward to that. Good girl, there you go.